Part 3 is part 3. Good day and welcome to today's broadcast. Today, the 30th April 2025, the day that the Lord has made, a wonderful day for our country. Today, members of the opposition met and read out a letter they gave to President Hakainde Hichilema 2 years ago, demanding that they discuss national issues, national affairs, and in light of the issues that are coming up, the proposed constitutional amendment and the upcoming elections in the next 1.5 years, the opposition have called on President Hakainde Hichilema to meet with them that they can resolve these issues. They told him, Mr. President, you cited something wonderful, Mr. President. You said at Edith Nwaku's funeral that the best way to resolve issues is through dialogue. But you're just playing politics, Mr. President. It was mere rhetoric. Fellow Zambians, we are back with that program once again. The program is Project 2026 and Beyond. A plan not for elections, but a plan for generations. A plan beyond elections. A plan that will emancipate Zambia. And it's a broad framework of how we can revolutionize things we do. Today, we'll spend time to demonstrate how mere and mundane issues, such as the procurement process, can be used to empower local businesses, create wealth and create jobs. Such an ordinary tool can be a transformative tool to develop our country, and we'll go to a large extent to demonstrate that. At the moment, we have, without doubt, a dictatorship, tyranny. The president has weaponized law enforcement agencies. They've become tools to oppress the opposition, to oppress his critics, and to entrench himself. His men and women are spared from the law. If they break the law, they are never brought to court. All the corruption that has happened, the large-scale acts of corruption that has happened in the last 4 years, you don't see anyone in court. CDF has become a looting frenzy. Their procurement has all become single sourcing, which in itself is a criminal offense if there is no proper justification. Our country has become illiberal. The president has enacted laws that stifle freedom of expression, freedom of the press, and freedom of our people to associate and speak for themselves. Freedom of thought, all these have been impeded. He has become highly illiberal. He has hijacked democratic institutions such as Parliament, where you have Parliament and this is it, where you have the two sisters running those institutions, and they are literally UPND cadres. Madam Nelly Mutiat, the National Assembly, and the sister at Electoral Commission of Zambia, Mama Mwangala Zalomis. And these have been weaponized just to save the interests of President Hakainde Hichilema. The judiciary, Mwamba Madila himself, even the other day was admitting that the judiciary is not performing to his satisfaction. No, it is he to blame. He's allowed the judiciary to become an extension of state house. He has allowed the judiciary to become an extension of state house. Corruption, nimbwe. Like I said, they've reduced, they've literally outlawed public tender processes. They've just picked the tender methods of single sourcing and direct bidding. The process is not competitive and it's been littered by overpricing and looting of our treasury. Overpricing, corruption, and goods and services delivered at a very high cost, no value for money. For the first time, we have debt rising. Musokotwane has borrowed up to $6 billion, $3.1 billion foreign debt and another $3 billion local debt. He's borrowed $6 billion. Inflation rate is rising. The last three national budgets, Musokotwane pledged that it will be a single-digit inflation. Is now at 16% and appears stuck. The foreign exchange rate, the dollar has found a home at 28 kwacha instead of what they found it at 17 kwacha. Price of fuel is in the 30s today. There was a reduction by the ERB by 2 kwacha, but our people will not even appreciate it because the last 3 years, the price of fuel has been rising and rising and rising. So even the reduction of 2 kwacha is not appreciated. Our economy is literally on standstill. It's in decline. It's been plagued by high cost of living, one of the worst in the last 30 years. Unemployment is at its highest. Our cities, our towns are decaying. Families are breaking down. There's a gloom and doom of our family. And what have they done? They've just proceeded to go into another campaign, making fresh promises. They've activated nationwide campaigns. You've seen them everywhere. Chitenge materials are there, new t-shirts, new Chitenge materials, and they are disrupting transport and traffic, and they've commenced. Yet they haven't delivered on their first mandate. They are already in high gear in campaigning for the next election and for Hichilema to be re-elected. We have a plan. We think that Project 2026 can stop all this, can restart our country. We are the country that was more richer than China, than South Korea and Singapore at independence. The 3 countries I've cited are now first world countries. And Zambia, which was a middle income country, has now become one of the 6 poorest countries in the world. What did China, Singapore, South Korea and Japan do differently? When we were at PI in 1964, what did they do differently that propelled them to the first world and took us to the decadent of the top 6 poorest countries in the world? That is what we are discussing today. I'll spend a lot of time to speak to what Singapore did, to what China did, to what South Korea did, so that we broaden our framework in Project 2026 of how we can kickstart our country. Our prime aim is that our country should be one of the top 5 economies in Africa. It leaps from a poor country to a middle income, not even just low middle income country, but to a middle income country with GDP rivaling South Africa, Egypt, Algeria, and Nigeria. It can be done with what we've discussed. So let's begin. What is leadership? Let's get a cue from my dear brother, Patrice Lumumba, who takes his name after the famous Prime Minister of Congo, Patrice Lumumba. So Professor Patrice Lumumba speaks about leadership.
Book, Miseducation of the Negro, that a leader is he or she who knows that he is not necessarily better than everybody else, but he has passion and commitment to provide direction in a manner that will help others and improve his circumstances and the circumstances of the society. A politician, on the other hand, is a parasitic individual who thinks he has the monopoly of knowledge and wisdom and whose grand agenda is to manipulate processes for personal benefit by hoodwinking the people that he or she is working for them, but he is simply massaging his ego and feathering his nest. There is the tendency, particularly in Africa, that the mere occupation of public office makes you a leader. No. Leadership is a totally different thing. Leadership is about individuals who are capable of thinking about their societies and who are prepared to sacrifice for their societies without expectation of any return. I think the best description of who a leader was a description that I read in Carter G. Woodson's book, Miseducation of the Negro, that a leader is he or she who knows that he is not necessarily better than everybody else, but he has passion and commitment to provide direction in a manner that will help others and improve his circumstances and the circumstances of the society. A politician, on the other hand, is a parasitic individual who thinks he has the monopoly of knowledge and wisdom and whose grand agenda is to manipulate processes for personal benefit by hoodwinking the people that he or she is working for them, but he is simply massaging his ego and feathering his nest.
Yeah. So leadership is just not occupying office. Today we'll demonstrate that local businesses, promoting local businesses, locally owned enterprises, using government money can spur our economy into tremendous growth. Are you aware that 37%, between 35 to 40% of the national budget every year goes to the procurement of goods and services? Government plans what it will do, whether to build roads, whether to build schools, whether to buy petrol, whether to buy fertilizer, whether to buy stationery, whether it will buy for whatever it is. So up to between 35 to 40% of national budget is dedicated to purchase of goods and services for government. We are revolutionizing this process. We are locking it only to local and locally owned enterprises. This is almost $2.5 to $3 billion of money that is usually given to foreign entities, foreign companies, large companies that benefit from this $2.5 to $3 billion. This is a lot of money if it went into the hands and pockets of our people. If there is no expertise, our people will be required to enter into joint ventures, to collaborate with foreign entities for them to deliver. If it's something complex or complicated or required specialized skills, the contracts will still be given to Zambians. I saw this very well in South Africa, where up to 500 billion rand is dedicated just to South African, to the procurement of goods and services, is locked to local enterprises. That's why you saw the BE in South Africa, the Black Empowerment Enterprise, where now white companies were forced to adopt black directors, because without meeting BE a requirement, you cannot get government money. No, you go and make your money in the private sector, not from government. So 500 billion rand in South Africa will be dedicated to local enterprises. So that's why you began to see the multimillionaires black multimillionaires emerge in South Africa. It was a deliberate policy, and this is what we are going to do as well. This money, whether it's fertilizer, whether it's fuel, whether it's any of these large-scale procurement, whether it's Zesco poles, where Zesco spent $110 million to buy poles and gave to Zimbabwean and South African companies. No. So we'll amend the procurement process to ensure that government funds are locked to local enterprises, locally owned enterprises. Imagine if I give you $3 billion a year for the next 5 years. How will our enterprises be? How will our businesses be? Look, we have a large pool of talented and educated people. We have a young population. How do we benefit from this demographic dividend? Our median age is between 15 and 24. That's our population. If these young entrepreneurs are supported by decisions like this, you immediately change the character of our country. Wealth, instead of looking for foreign direct investment, you have government spending up to $3 billion every year. And they give it to foreign entities. Who buys your fuel? Who buys your fertilizer? Who buys all these big projects? It's foreign companies. Whatever they are buying is foreign companies that are buying it, not Zambian companies. So this will be in Project 2026. Immediately, we change this procurement process. And there's another matter where our businesses literally collapse. They collapse because we can't pay on time. Government is a bad payer. There's something I learned from both South Africa and Ethiopia. If you supply government anything below $1 million, you'll be paid within 14 days. It's law. It's law. If government has to borrow to pay you within 14 days after delivery, it is up to government. If they have to get treasury bonds or get an overdraft from the bank, it is up to government. If it's something below $10 million, 30 days. Where government gets the money from is not my problem. I have procured or delivered a service worth $10 million. You can't force me into bankruptcy. You can't force me into beginning to accumulate debt. You wanted an item, I've delivered to you. So we will change in Project 2026 and beyond that any procurement, anything $1 million and below, you'll be paid within 14 days after delivery. Anything below $10 million, you'll be paid within 30 days. Whether government will borrow, whether government will take out treasury bills, whether government will, whatever they will do, should never be your problem. They asked for an item, you have sourced it at great cost, you have delivered it. If it's been inspected, it meets the requirement, and the government is satisfied, you should be paid within 30 days if it's below $10 million. Below $20 million, 45 days. So if you've done a project that's worth $20 million and below, and you have delivered certificate of completion, you have delivered your invoices, whatever it is that you have done, our duty is to pay you within 45 days. And anything above $20 million will not go beyond 60 days. It has to be paid within 60 days and below. That is how you change countries. That is how you change. Thank you very much, my dear brother. I can see, one of our foremost leaders in our country, young and ambitious, and I think requires to be supported. Honorable Harry Kalava is watching. Thank you, my dear brother. You are doing a good job, and we support the works you are doing. And I hope that your party adopts Project 2026. It's revolutionary in nature. It is important that we deliver development in a short period. We deliver our country to be a top 5 economy within a short period. So thank you for your comments. And another matter that you lock in is payday. Takwaba if you're civil servants besu chitaba ishwana payday lelo yaba 21 malo yaba 35 lelo yaba 29 we lock in payday the way we've done to an election date. The payday for our public service workers will be done. It will be locked in. So it will not be where people are speculating. And it's very simple. Like in South Africa, what I saw is that the payday is locked in. And various ministries, provinces, and state-owned agencies have gone to their banks that on this day, our wage bill is, for example, 5 million kwacha. Please pay it. If we incur interest, or you turn it into an overdraft, that's our matter. It should never inconvenience the worker. The worker should be able to plan, because workers have plans where they have borrowed, they have plans, when your economy is ticking, there are issues that are on standing orders, like where you've purchased your car, your mortgage for your house, it has to be deducted at a certain date. Banks and financial institutions do not negotiate. They do not wait at there's a standing order and you don't want it to bounce. So to prevent that, you use the salary date locked in, and various ministries and public agencies will go to their banks and say, Bane, our payday is 29th or our payday is 24th, whatever day that we'll agree upon. And the banks on that day will pay. And then it becomes between banks or financial institution and the employer and the agency or company, or in this case, ministries. That's one of the issues, again, we will resolve. So payments to all suppliers, know that whether you've supplied carpenter, whether you've delivered a bridge, whatever it is, it will be locked in. 14 days, 30 days, 45 days, and 60 days. Nothing more, nothing less. Look at the large domestic debt that we have of up to $10 billion. That's our local debt. $10 billion. And Msokotwane is not in a hurry to dismantle it. He's not even bothered about it. He doesn't even want to attend to the local debt. He wants to dismantle, debt restructure the foreign debt. You owe them $10 billion. How will your economy grow if you're just bothered about foreign entities and foreign debt? What about the local debt? What about the local debt? So, this for us will lock this 37% of the national budget, which is between $2.5 to $3 billion a year. It will be locked to you, the locally owned companies, locally owned enterprises. It will not be given to foreign entities. It doesn't matter how large the procurement is. For example, if ECZ is, why is ECZ printing ballots still in Dubai or South Africa? Why can't we do it at government printers? What is it that government printers can't do? Why should we take those millions? Why should ECZ take those millions to Dubai and South Africa? Why don't you give it to government printers and maybe tenders into an agreement with Horizon printers? The state-of-the-art equipment that Horizon has is the same that you have in Dubai and in South Africa. So why don't the two collaborate and ensure that they print your ballots? Why do you have to spend those millions of dollars to South Africa or Dubai? So, very clear again, procurement to be reformed, direct bidding, single sourcing will be outlawed. It's totally not necessary. It's designed in emergency purposes. You have to remove all those elements that have allowed it to be hijacked and become the mainstay of procurement, using direct bidding or single sourcing. You have to lock it in. If it's emergency, it truly has to be an emergency, not in the manner that they are abusing it. They are circumventing the law. That will not be allowed. So, and another matter, what has bankrupted our economy is that we haven't paid our suppliers and our contractors. President Hakainde Hichilema came in office and lied. He lied that our people were supplied air. He refused to pay. He said they didn't supply at all, or they didn't build roads, or they didn't. He refused it. He commissioned the National Audit Office, the Auditor General's office, to audit that debt. It was audited. And they gave it a clean bill. They said, this money, the goods and services were delivered, Mr. President. Pay. He refused to pay. He says, no. Maybe this Auditor General is from PF because he could be favoring. These are his people. So he hired 6 international firms that are based in Zambia. Price Waterhouse, Ernst & Young, Grant Thornton. Name them. All of them were given the entire outstanding debt to our local suppliers and local contractors. They did an audit. Remember, we even had an uproar because they even went into the army. They even went to the intelligence service. They went to Ministry of Defense. We had an uproar that our national books were being compromised by some of the things that are procured. And you had foreign entities or outside people, outside government, knowing what we procured. No, Hichilema said, I want to know the value of money. Don't worry about secrets. Let them audit. So we let him audit. They audited. Ngwe by ngwe, kwacha by kwacha, million by million, billion by billion. They gave him reports, clean bill of health. Ababantu walishita deliver, walipanga, walifibombela. Pay them. To date, he has not paid them. Musokotwane is Minister of Finance. He is just determined to only restructure the foreign debt, not the local debt. He has not bothered to even have a plan of how to pay our suppliers, and our suppliers are going into bankruptcy, into depression. Businesses are closing, companies are closing, their workers are on the street. Unacceptable. So we'll clear outstanding domestic debt immediately. Let me come to the other matter.
There is the tendency, particularly in Africa, that the mere occupation of public office makes you a leader. No. Leadership is a totally different thing. Leadership is about individuals who are capable of thinking about their societies and who are prepared to sacrifice for their societies without expectation of any return. I think the best description of who a leader was the description that I read in Carter G. Woodson's book, Miseducation of the Negro, that a leader is he or she who knows that he is not necessarily better than everybody else, but he has passion and commitment to provide direction in a manner that will help others and improve his circumstances and the circumstances of the society. A politician, on the other hand, is a parasitic individual who thinks he has the monopoly of knowledge and wisdom and whose grand agenda is to manipulate processes for personal benefit by hoodwinking the people that he or she is working for them, but he is simply massaging his ego and feathering his nest.
Thank you very much. I was just following up on the questions already. People are following that. What's your plan for agriculture? Oh, you have to watch part 1, part 2. This is part 3. We discussed mining, detailed and extensive. We've discussed agriculture, tourism. We even gave you a teaser of how livestock, just livestock alone, can rival copper earnings, because your largest resource in Zambia, other than mineral resource, is our water resources. Look at our larger water bodies, lakes, rivers, streams. Just look at that underground and surface water. So we had said livestock can rival copper earnings. We can upset our export. We can become one of the major exporter of fish and maize in the entire Africa. Because if you took to every lake, you took electricity, You took cold storage facility. You built the port, the harbor, the landing sites. And you took a processing plant to plant your fish. And you activate Ministry of Fisheries to, to bring in millions, those hatcheries. And because our lakes have run out of fish, we have up to 400 species, but you pick the big ones that can quickly be commercial as you are relieving and building the odd indigenous stock of fish. And then took cold storage facilities. And then we have 1.1 million fishermen. Fidatu wachita kufisip, wada 1.1 million naba kufisip. Mwaileta kuma fishermen, fisip naena, for fishermen, where you account for every fisherman and you give them fishing gear. If they form cooperatives, you quickly buy them even a fishing boat, and you bring cold storage facilities. Because remember, you are export focused, and you have to, of course, bring good nutrition to our people, that the fish is immediately frozen. If you have to bring kilns for those that love drying it. Not fila wakanika paka suba, wakanika on sand kapenta nga mlefu kulia kapenta, kanu mwai shet, kanu bai samfia kufumia ko lukungu. You just bring one modern kiln to where they are, and it dries up the kapenta without putting it or laying it on the ground, sun drying it on the sand. No, those are not good methods. There's something we can do to a mundane sector like livestock. There's something we can grow our cattle. If you attend the cattle diseases in southern and western province, vaccinating deep tanks, and then you grow, the population of cattle is only 4 million now. You grow it to 15 million. We can overtake Botswana. We can become a large exporter of beef to the EU, to Europe, to everywhere. You cannot have Angola spending $4 billion in their imports for crops and meats and fish. You cannot have the DRC importing up to $3 billion of food. When you are there, you have your land, you have your water, you have the most fertile land, best rivers, freshwater rivers. So, what's your plan for agriculture? I urge you to watch part 1 and part 2. We discussed in details how we can revolutionize mining, how we can revolutionize agriculture. So today we are on mundane stuff like procurement. How $3 billion every year is spent on goods and services, but it doesn't go to our people. It goes to foreign entities. It goes to these foreign-owned companies. Whether niku NIMA, whether nikuliba ZAMSA, whether niku Ministry of Health, only locally engaged companies, locally owned companies. If they have to go into a JV with an Indian company or an Egyptian company, if we just have to prove that you can deliver on time, it will even spur manufacturing in our country, because if you have a manufacturing entity of medicine in Zambia, you are priority number 1, number 2, and number 3. We will not import if there is a manufacturer of an item in our country. We will do what is called import substitution. So again, procurement will be used as a strategic lever to drive, this economic change in our country. It will create wealth. It will create jobs. It goes without saying, local government, the bulk of money will be devolved to provinces and districts. Not if Bachita CDF, Mangalo, CDF has no capacity to develop and to deliver development. It doesn't have capacity. The way local government is designed, under devolution and under decentralization, is that we took planners, we took directors, we took engineers up to the district. That is why government is still supporting them with salaries. We have put an efficient, educated staff at district level. They should plan for development. They should be given the resources. Not Shidamuposa CDF, Kudife corruption, where they are looting that money. The money will be taken to the district. We have capacity at the district. Procurement, professional procurers have been hired. Planners have been hired. Engineers have been hired. And your town clerks. And then it's democratic, because the officials are elected by you. The officials from council chairperson or mayor are elected by you. That is a democratic government at local level. You can't entrust millions to the so-called ward officials to determine development at the level of the district. No, that's misdirected. So the district to be empowered, the district to have professional staff to revolutionize that district and deliver appropriate, properly focused development to your area. So the abuse of CDF becomes a foregone issue, doesn't even rise. So there's a focus on small enterprise. There'll be a small enterprise development agency that will be created to empower you, to support you, to help you with skills, to bring qualified staff. Remember we had said for TVET, last week we were discussing TVET, how technical and education vocation will be now the focus of public funding. Will not allow you to do courses that don't empower the economy, that don't support the economy. The economy as strategic focus. What do we want to do in health, in education, in engineering? How do we want to develop our infrastructure? What's our knowledge base? So government will support only courses that help with its national development focus. Well, if we could start out to do nails, how to shiny, we can support you by giving you a teacher and a lecturer and the office. There'll be teachers to teach you that, but you pay on your own. If you want to do something mundane, you want to do something that degree in whatever, you can pay for it yourself. But as a nation, we are focused on delivering a prosperous, nation in a short period of time, in a rapid movement. So we have to use these scarce resources, public resources, to support. So TVET becomes the focus. These TVET institutions, this is to eliminate the current unemployment. You cannot have an education system that makes unemployment. That's how our education system does. Up to 200,000 people graduate every year. They graduate into unemployment. You cannot have an education system that delivers unemployment. So the TVET system becomes fundamental because we are equipping you in the manner we are revolutionizing it. We are equipping you with plans that you are either an employer or you employ your colleagues or you form some enterprise with your colleagues who've graduated, and the small enterprise development agency then can give you skills, can give you tools to open your account. Is it carpentry? Is it machinery? Is it welding? The small enterprise development agency can give you a loan, can provide, can give you skills, can link you to entities that are doing what you're doing in Japan, in South Korea, in Germany. There will also be a small entity that will be opened specifically to support SMEs. This will be the finance for small development agency. Again, this will be focused to give you that bridging finance, that capital finances. I want to capital. So there will be a financing for small development agencies that will be opened, focused on growing SMEs. India has been built on the back of small enterprises, and the small enterprises have purposely been supported. They've not risen in isolation. There's another matter that I need to discuss. I've seen that on social media, various payment platforms have emerged. Marketplace, this, but they're not secure. Our people keep on crying. What did Alibaba do? What did Amazon do? What are all these PayPal? How did they do it? It's very simple. We bring the central bank to open a safe digital platform with appropriate high-end technology to stop any fraud. You cannot be defrauded if you buy anything on these platforms. Why we have frauds in the digital space, cyber crimes in the digital space, is that there is no proper market and payment platform. Look at what our friends did, M-Pesa in Kenya, which became the seed for mobile banking. They got intelligent boys. We can get CBU boys with Bank of Zambia and ZRA Then they design a platform where when you purchase anything, it's even immediately officially recorded and you cannot be defrauded. So a proper digital payment platform pioneered by ZRA, by Bank of Zambia and CBU and University of Zambia. In one room, they sit for 2 weeks. They come up with an appropriate technology and they set up a proper market, financial and market space on the digital platform. That's what our countries are doing abroad. Either you support the private sector to set up a very thriving payment system. That's why you can buy from spares to cars to rings to anything. You can just click on Amazon and it comes. You can click on whatever platforms across the world and it comes. They never defraud you. Similarly, we are setting up a local market and payment structure pioneered by Bank of Zambia and ZRA and supported by technologies from CBU and University of Zambia. Just you give them 2 weeks to 1 month with Smart Zambia there, a platform will emerge, foolproof, fraud-proof, credible, so that I know that even if I buy here, I'll not be defrauded. There are parameters that if you are lying that you have this property and you don't have it, first it locks in your number, your ID is verified, your address is verified. By the time you are making a payment and you wish to defraud, the police can come on your door and they can trace you. You cannot disappear in thin air. At your body to your body, no. And why our people are defrauded every day in these schemes, Ponzi schemes, again, there is no proper digital space where you can do business. So a digital platform is coming. Remember, our country is almost unbanked up to 50-60% and then underbanked up to 70-80%. Only about 20% have bank accounts. So a digital platform cures all these issues, like mobile banking has done, like mobile money has done, like, Airtel money, MTN money has done. It has brought those that were not banked, that were underbanked, they have brought them into financial inclusion. This is what we will do. Bring an efficient, trustworthy, fraud-proof system. Establish a market and financial place where people can trade. I don't have to be at a farm and I'm coming to Soweto market with the looking for market. No, I can sell on my own from where I am and someone delivers it to you. If it's fruits, vegetables and whatever you want on a credible platform. So the back end is where the investment is to ensure that whoever comes on the forum is properly verified, their credentials are identifiable, traceable. When the back end is smart, the front end is okay and no one is defrauded. There can be frauds. Obviously, there are unscrupulous people here and there, but the police immediately move in and trace you and capture you and prosecute you. I'll now spend time, before I open phone lines, I'll spend time to discuss what did Singapore do differently. We were richer than Singapore in 1964. What did China do? Per capita income, we were far better than China in 1964. What did South Korea do? What did the so-called Asian tigers do differently? How did they move from poor countries to now first world, while we moved from a middle-income country to one of the 6 poorest in the world? What did we do wrong? Where are our lessons? How can we ensure that in this Project 2026, where we are leapfrogging to a top 5 economy in Africa, what did they do differently? Just hold on, we now get to what China, Singapore, South Korea, and the Asian tigers did.
He put me behind bars 15 times. The expectation of the people was that I'll put him behind bars.
Politics of vengeance will be behind us. Politics of tribalism, politics of hatred will not be part of us. I think we'll promote a merit-based system. You are employed because you are qualified to. You will not be denied a job because of your tribe or because you are connected to who or no. It will be a merit-based system. China is the fastest and longest growing economy in the entire world. It has grown the fastest and for a dedicated longest period in the last 30 years. It has lifted up to 500 million of its citizens, 500 million, from poverty to a middle income. They've created a middle class. It has produced billionaires. The highest number of billionaires are in China and in the US. It moved from an agrarian economy to an industrial economy. It became the world's manufacturing hub. It remains so. It was moved from a backwater economy. Zambia was richer than China per capita, and it built a manufacturing capacity where it became a leader, and is now currently leading in technology such as electric vehicle. It has purposeful investment just the last 10 years by government into this sector. It has now become a frontier leading the cutting technology, and it's housing all the rare earths metal, and it has the largest reserves and deposits of what is required to make EV batteries and electrical vehicles. How did China do this? Move from a backwater to this giant in a period, in our lifetime, in a period of 30 years. For example, it couldn't manufacture an engine. It couldn't, internal combustion engine. But Deng Xiaoping, the one who came after Mao Zedong, did something revolutionary. He visited Japan. Japan was a leader at the time in electronics and in mechanics. So building cars, Toyota, Nissan, Mitsubishi, Datsun. And Deng Xiaoping said, I'm taking a visit. Remember, China has 3,500 years of civilization. It's been a giant until 18th century, and it made some strategic mistakes where it was colonized by UK, by Portugal, and Japan kept on a small tiny island, kept on defeating China after the 1800s. And the Chinese consider themselves superior to the Japanese. Deng Xiaoping didn't mind. He took a trip to Japan. Colleagues, what are you doing differently? He began by bringing in CKD to assemble Japanese cars. Later, they began to just make bodies and import Toyota engines into their vehicles. Today, they are a leading exporter in the entire world for motor vehicles. The BYD, their electric vehicle, is number one seller, overtaking Tesla's vehicles. What did they do to Tesla? Tesla had engineering idea, and he wanted to build these Teslas for the American market and European market in light of he went to China. China gave him subsidies. This is a foreign entity. They didn't have the technology. Elon Musk had the technology. They gave him subsidies and began to learn from him. 10 years later, the Japanese vehicle, BYD, is the largest exporter of electric vehicles, and it has become the most dominant in the electrical vehicle market. So Deng Xiaoping said the famous word, it doesn't matter if the cat is black or white, as far as it can catch that mice. China for the last 30 years has been growing at 10%. Ndasekaba msoko twane. Growth rate ya 2.5% that you are growing, 3.5%. You have to sustain growth of 10% and above for the next decade, 10, 20 years, for you to even put a dent to the world economy. That's what China did. It's been growing at 10%. There's something they did. People say they imported capitalism. Yes, they did, but there's something they did. All 22 states of China compete against each other So the premier and the leadership of a Communist Party will send a governor to a province. They'll send them to a provincial and give him targets. Your economic output will be like this. Your GDP should be like this. Can you meet this? Lower corruption, lower bureaucracy, include our people and grow. And every year they will announce. Xi Jinping has run 4 provinces and has been a top performer and revolutionized economies in these 4 provinces he came from. By the time he's becoming president of China, by the time he's leading China as a leader, he has delivered. And when you take inexperienced people, they will not understand. So they have an internally competitive process where provinces, where there's individual states go out to look for investment either within China or within the world, bring it into China, form JVs with the state-owned enterprises there. Some of the largest companies in the world are state-owned enterprises owned by local governments in China. And they compete and deliver not just production, not just growth, not just development, but deliver a world-class economy at their provincial level. You cannot, do you even know your minister in Eastern Province? Do you know your minister in Northern Province? Do you know your minister in Southern Province? Do you know your Central Province minister? Mangalo ayatuchita. We need to be serious like China did. They brought competition. They brought foreign investment. They were not ashamed. Remember, they were known for imitation. Fong Kang Kung Shani Tualeva Sekat China just Fiaku China Infi Gonga Fiaku China. They were not ashamed to copy. They were not ashamed to learn. They were not ashamed to be laughed at. And this is what is different between China and India. India took a protective angle. In 1983, India and China were at par. Their economies were, their GDP were around, I think, $600 billion each. Today, India is at $3 trillion. China is at $20 trillion, 5 times more than India. What did India do wrong? India didn't want to clean up its cities. In fact, if you say Delhi is dirty, they will deport you. In China, if you said Shanghai is dirty, they will go and have a meeting. Why did the foreigners say Shanghai is dirty? Today, if I say Lusaka is dirty, and there's that walk bridge from Comesa across to Mississippi, someone took a picture there. It's now an official toilet. If you saw any toilet, they are flyover bridge. Kairi ama billboards. No kwari ama billboards. Yariama walkover bridge from Comesa. In between there, because there's billboard here, billboard is for privacy. So yari looking official toilet. How can you have your capital city as dirty as Lusaka? When you tell them that Peking, before it changed to Beijing, is dirty, it has no public toilets, they went and sat. This is an embarrassment. Lusaka city doesn't have a toilet. If you have diarrhea, God help you. If you have diarrhea in Lusaka, God bless you. I don't know what you will do. You cannot have a city without toilets. You cannot have a city as dirty as our cities are. China listened. If they were being laughed at their t-shirt in Gawasha Iloma, it became a matter for their Monday meetings. T-shirt ya China ngamwawasha within you have to dispose it off. Who manufactured? Who are they? Can they be found? Can they be visited? Because the infraction by one reflected the infraction by all. India didn't bother about that. And today is sitting at $3 trillion GDP. China is at 20 trillion. And remember now, India has a bigger population than China. India is still producing very well. China, the one-child policy, and they've lagged behind, and their population is in total decline. They have more old people than they have young people. India, on the other side, has hope to recover because the median age for their population is a young population, 20, 21, 22. But the mindset they took is they manufactured what would be a drum, they called them cars. When they were laughed at, they improved. Some of the best luxury cars are coming from China, indigenous Chinese vehicle. There is what they tell us, the state has no business in business. Leave it to the private sector. The state has a purposeful presence and as demonstrated by China, as demonstrated by Singapore, as demonstrated by Japan. The state is behind. Either you finance the private sector or you create a special purpose vehicle. Like ZCCMIH to be, we are saying it should be a dominant force in the mining sector in collaboration with the members of the private sector. So state mobilization and state coordination becomes very important. I gave an example of the EV motor vehicles. If there was not state participation, look, America, which were pioneers in electrical vehicle and Tesla, didn't really support the setting up of charging station. Up to now, they've got about 600,000. China forked out its own money as subsidy and set up 4 million charging stations. And it immediately skyrocketed because you don't want to run out of power. Charging station is nowhere near and you are stranded. Mwambok fire foot to jump on a taxi or anything. So there's always state participation to spur growth, to support sectors, to support the private sector. Another thing that China did was these foreign-owned enterprises. Remember, China is supposed to be a communist state. It's supposed to be a socialist state. No. Yes, they promulgate socialism, but they knew the efficiencies required in running the economy. They brought in the private sector. They ensured that their state-owned enterprises were running as efficient as the private sector. And if you throw them to the vagaries of the private sector, a parastatal or state-owned enterprise will swim in that harsh environment. Not where you put it by selecting only your tribal mates to run it, your friends to run it. They can't survive when the shark waters of the private sector are there. So you get the best to run your enterprises, even if they are state-owned enterprises. They apply the good governance record and the thriftness of the private sector so that they survive with the private sector. So they gave foreign-owned companies subsidies to set up. Can you imagine you want to set up a company in China? They give you a loan and they give land free of charge, on lease, of course. And they guaranteed your market. They said, what do you want? What do you want? You said, I want to export, but there's no road here to the next rail station, or there's no rail here. I'm manufacturing so much per day. I'll need a rail link to my yard. China would provide that rail link to the main link. They would build that road to your yard. They'll bring electricity to your yard. It should not be you. Mulele kana bazesco chilabushiku. Epo mwashitira apply kuri bazesco balanda fiat mailo. 4 years balanda fiat mailo. No. So like I said, it became the fastest growing economy in the last 40 years. The local economies were competing, very, very well. It's what they call the mayor's economy or the governor's economy. The governor, like you hear about California. California is the largest, it's the 7th largest economy in the world. Texas, 9th largest economy in the world. It's called the mayor's or governor's economy. You need your provinces to tick. You need your provinces to industrialize. That your minister you've sent there and the group of mayors that are run and chairperson that are running districts and provinces and constituencies are running together with you, and you are posting economic growth. You are creating jobs at local level. Not that we create jobs and umo President Kulusaka. You should be able, as a mayor, to say, I've created so many jobs in my province. That's what China did. We devolve the resources to you. We ensure that we bring capacity to your level. We bring professionals. This also helps with this migration where everyone wants to be in Lusaka. Lusaka is not Zambia. We have to remind ourselves. Let me go to India. I think we've stated a lot about that China's growth has beaten any growth in any economy in the world. Empires have shed blood. They've taken over land. They've colonized countries. They've enslaved people. The British, the Spanish, the Portuguese. And if you trace back to all these empires, the last major 7 empires in the world, they shed blood, they colonized, they conquered. China is conquering the world without shedding any blood, without taking over any land, without declaring any war. While the US has been engaged in wars in the deserts, China has been investing its money where it required in the sectors. And there's something good about China, what it revolutionized with its education sector. It has the largest number of tooling engineers now. Even if you want to do some of these far advanced like mobile phones, you can't compete at Chinese level. They have the highest number of educated technicians, craftsmen, and tooling engineers who can deliver a product far faster. That is why all your best goods, electronic goods in the world, are made in China. Whether it's your iPhone, whether it's your TV, you'll have Samsung, although it's manufacturing in South Korea, it's also manufacturing in China to deliver to you because of the expertise and pooling of these requisite stuff that the investment has been done over the years. Meritocracy, like I said, Xi Jinping has not come from a boardroom to be president. No, he delivered in 4 provinces, grew, posted large-scale GDP growth in the provinces he ran. By the time you are seeing him as prime minister, he has a wealth of experience behind him. He has institutional knowledge, meritocracy. You can't compromise. And there's something that China did. Our leaders are susceptible to corruption. Multinationals like in our country, FQM and others can hijack your leadership at State House. Why you elect this leadership, they can just come with a large check and take over your leadership, and they detect your tax and your mining tax policy. They detect your import duty charges. So China deliberately insulated its leadership. Their proximity to, fila tuchitati, wafuma ku Dubai wa investor bali ku State House. Kawa ZDA bali kuisa. You want to set up an EV market. What are you doing at State House? As a political leader, what do you want him to do? You want to bribe him? Does he want shareholding in your company? That's corruption. If you're an investor, meet the technocrats, the structures that require you. How long will it take you to set up a business in Lusaka? Is it 3 days? Is it 5 days? Is it 1 day? What do you require? Office space? Regulatory mechanism? What licenses do you require? That's why ZDA takes the forefront, not the jokers that are at ZDA, and helps settle an investor. What does an investor want? To settle and quickly begin to work. Not there is a queue of investors packed in hotels, but my hotel lobbies, but ni corruption ilia. The gatekeepers begin to charge you $50,000, $100,000 to see the president. Why are the investors? Pushamwali invest at China. Kumwana wa president. To do what? Kutwa kumana ku trade fair. When I'm inspecting you, kutwa kumana kuma business seminars where I come to address you and I want to understand your challenges. But you want to be in the private space of the president. For what? If it's not for corruption. So China has insulated from these baits of corruption its leadership to ensure that there is proper distance. But of course, There is merit. There is nothing that is compromised in delivery of your presence in the country. So while you have many leaders that just shout and make noise, we want to work, we want to utilize time, we want to deliver. While you have leaders that are usually threatening, canceling, removing you, we want to be silent, we want to observe, and we want to deliver. We want to work beyond the noise. We want to respond with action. We want to respond with result. We want to respond with strategy. We don't want to be engaged in endless political wars with the opposition. Chila kumula kafena ba opposition. Epo wachela nishalandile Mwamba. Nishalandile Harikaraba. Nishalandile Lubinda. We want you in your early morning briefs in cabinet, in the presidential office. You have to tell me how many jobs have been created, how much wealth we've created. Where are we? We are in our second quarter. We are in our third quarter. Where are we? What about our promises? How far is my budget? I had promised to deliver A, B, C, D, E. Where are we? That should be the discussion in the morning. Not at what did Mwamba write? What did Mwamba say? What did Hari Kalaba say? Where is Hari Kalaba? Where is Fred Membe? Unproductive. So let's compare briefly the US and China. These are two empires. One is diminishing, one is rising. If you see the last 40 years, US have been at war. China has been a small, of course large, but agrarian economy that has moved to an industrial and second largest economy in the world, if not the first economy in the world. While the US were in Vietnam, were in every war, were in the deserts, were conducting wars everywhere, China was building factories. US was building bombs, guns. China was building factories, railroad. They have the largest network of trains. They have the largest high-speed trains, engineered locally, not from Germany, not from Japan. Germany and Japan were pioneers in high-speed vehicles. The best now is from China. How did China do it? They concentrated on building and finding markets for internally and externally. While the US built military bases, prisons, and they had their graves littered by bodies from these wars, China invested in the future. US invested in bombs, in oil and debt. China invested in bridges, in roads, And while the US and Western world are grappling with youths who are drowning, like now it is in Zambia, in drugs and despair, China has its youths engaged in education, in entrepreneurship, in innovation. You said China is a communist state. No, it's literally a party running the state, running capitalism and calling itself a communist state. What did China promote? There's common prosperity, where you lift up to 500 million people out of poverty. In the US, you built Elon Musk, one individual, worth billions of dollars. That wealth should be distributed more to your people so that you lift everyone out of poverty. Our goal is to reduce the poverty levels. Remember, currently at 60%, it has to be below 20% in the next 5 years. Yeah. So there are things to be attended to, like I was saying. There'll be a fruit and vegetable market. If you're supporting SMEs, you have to build them a modern market. I found the Johannesburg fruit and vegetable market one of the best organized in the world. It opens at 02. You arrive there. A farmer doesn't leave his place, his farm. The trucks come to the farm gate, pick the commodity, bring them to the market. To the market, the entire government licensees are there. The health inspectors, those that check the value of the goods, those that check whatever. There is a market where up to packaging and export. I was at the Johannesburg market from 02 to 06. When we left 06, there was a truck going to Zambia. So a truck at 02 comes from the farm. The government inspectors, local government health inspectors move in. If it's meat, they check. If it's fruits, they check. They label, they certify. It moves to the next stage. A guy, an agency who buys from the farmer and pays the farmer. He has paid the farmer already. The trucker is paid already. And it moves to the guy who packages, puts his price, and is moving to the next table. For the market, Soweto, Santon, where, and for those going to Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Zambia, the trucks are leaving off onions, tomatoes, apples in 4 hours. I was amazed at that market. I said, why can't we have this? So a fruit and vegetable market on the likes of Johannesburg fruit and vegetable market, organized where a farmer doesn't have to leave his market. Mulomfwa Z farmer la complainer that it's beautiful to grow tomato, but it's hard to sell it. Because the supply market, supply chains in groceries and chain stores are also locked out. You are locked out. They would rather stock something from South Africa than your tomato and onion. A fruit and vegetable market will resolve all that. Okay, so before I go to Singapore and India, I think I've spoken enough. I'm going to invite you to make a call. My number is 0973 078082. Let's hear your views. Where is my phone? Let me look for it. Please make the call and let's discuss.
There is the tendency, particularly in Africa, that the mere occupation of public office makes you a leader. No. Leadership is a totally different thing. Leadership is about individuals who are capable of thinking about their societies and who are prepared to sacrifice for their societies without expectation of any return. I think the best description of who a leader was the description that I read in Carter G. Woodson's book, Miseducation of the Negro, that a leader is he or she who knows that he is not necessarily better than everybody else, but he has passion and commitment to provide direction in a manner that will help others and improve his circumstances and the circumstances of the society. A politician, on the other hand, is a parasitic individual, an individual who thinks he has the monopoly of knowledge and wisdom and whose grand agenda is to manipulate processes for personal benefit by hoodwinking the people that he or she is working for them, but he is simply massaging his ego and feathering his nest.
Okay, let's open the phone lines. Guys, we are discussing Project 2026, a revolutionary approach to developing our country. It can be done. Let's abandon the petty politics we've been engaged in, the petty corruption we've been engaged in. There's an opportunity to start afresh in 2026. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Yes, good evening, Ambassador Mwamba.
Good evening, my dear brother. Thank you very much.
I'm good. Am I connected to the program?
Yes, you are live, my brother.
Okay, then thanks a lot. Yeah, me, I'm just concerned of what is happening. You know, you're just saying to say, how can an investor come all the way from China, then to come and see the president, for an investor to come and see the president? You know, these are the results which they have followed over the ambulances.
Yeah.
You know, about the issue for ambulances, which the watchdog have even posted themselves. There's this Mr. Moses Shanda together with Honorable Garing Hombo. He was given a contract, which percentage it was taken to community house for the ambulances. But today, the people of Zambia are suffering. And some of them, they were saying that they are angels, there's no corruption. But it's good that themselves now, like the watchdog, they have started posting about their corruption. So I can assure to you to say, these people, they don't mean well. And it's time for all of us to come together and kick them out.
Thank you.
You know, they have also divided the country on tribal line.
Mm-hmm.
You see, there is no way whereby the only people who are not angels in our country are the Easterners and Bembas. There's no way. Because you never find that someone from Southern or Western or Northwestern has been found with this corruption. But you can see even him, Hagainde Ichilema, complained to say there's too much corruption. But why haven't we seen the anti-corruption going to the same officials, which Mr. Hagainde Ichilema was saying that they are corrupt? So I can assure to you to say this time around it's us, the Easterners and Bembas, to come together and then move these guys out, because corruption is too much. You can imagine just last month at Solwezi Council, 100 million went missing, and that 100 million, it was going to do a lot of things. Check about the maize scandal. There are a lot of scandals, Mr. Mwamba. So thanks a lot for your program, and please continue. And please, let's encourage our people, the Easterners and Bembas, to register a lot, because we need also strong ones. Because when we say we want Easterners and Bembas to vote in a certain way, they say it's tribe. But now, for them, when Hakainde Hichilema asked the chiefs, you remember in 2020, when he asked the chiefs to say it's time now to vote for a Tonga president, it wasn't Traborese. So let's just be the way they are in Southern, that it's a stronghold. So let's also ask our people from Eastern Province and our people from Northern Province to say, let's make also stronghold for the alliance. And it's good that all the alliance have come together. This is what we want.
Thank you, my dear brother. Thank you very much. Okay, we are discussing procurement. Today we are discussing procurement. Up to $3 billion a year in the national budget is dedicated to goods and services. We are saying that money will go to local enterprises. We'll lock it to local enterprises. If it's specialized, it's up to you, a local person, to get the expertise, the joint ventures from wherever it is, but the contract to be yours. Don't sell it. So you cannot have $3 billion not strategically organized in the manner that it is. So $3 billion every year will be locked to our local enterprises. And like we said in mining, the mining houses will be forced to ensure that up to 90% is given to our local suppliers on the Copper Belt and Solwezi. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling from.
Good evening, Ambassador Mwamba, John Marvel from Italy.
Oh, my dear brother from Italy, the man that preaches love and patriotism. I love you for that, my brother. You have to remind us again and again.
Yes, how are you, Ambassador? First of all,
the Lord is blessing me. The Lord has been merciful. The Lord has been gracious, and He sustains me every day.
Surely. I'm happy. You know, God loves our country, and I would really strongly disagree to the Fifiakulach that advocate for tribalism. You know, our forefathers worked so hard. There's no way to be talking about the Tongas, the Bembas, Abakwist, and Abakushani. You know, I'm from Luapula. I worked there. I think it was during the PF, Kariba North Power Extension Program here. Project. I lived with the Tonga people. We refer to our station Chirundu na Siavonga. I was human resources manager for Sino Hydro. We lived so well. There were no issues. It's just these unscrupulous leaders, opportunists who try to perpetuate this kind of disunite narratives. There's no need for us to going back to share tribalism. Then, because you mentioned China, when I was working there with Sino Hydro, we had those engineers, the Chinese engineers. They never spoke a word in English or any other language, and they didn't even speak standard Mandarin. I speak standard Mandarin. That's why I was working there.
You can speak Mandarin as well.
Yes, I studied China. I have a bachelor's degree in Chinese language, culture, and literature.
Oh, wonderful.
And I just today I just have a question for you, because I spoke about patriotism. And from my understanding, after working and studying with these other races, the other issue we have is it's not IQ, we're not intelligent or not educated enough, let alone Amazonians, but the mindset, Ambassador Mwamba. What you are saying, how can we have it embedded in our people that we are just good enough? God wanted us to be in this world, just as He wanted the whites to be in this world, the Asians, the Middle Easterners, Nabashala.
No, Mr. Mabo, your words are very clear. I think you've been very consistent from the first day you called. You've been calling about unity in our country, about we are a multi-tribal, multi-ethnic. We are religious, and the unity that you promote is very good. I know many people condemn President Hakainde Hichilema because he practices what is called reverse tribalism, where he's saying the previous government was engaged in tribalism, and now he's doing the opposite. It's called, like Mikaraku Europe, like reverse racism, where you have blacks hating white people. So what he is practicing is called reverse tribalism. While condemning tribalism, he himself again has entrenched himself in tribal politics. It's not healthy for our country, and our country cannot progress with the issues of tribe and tribalism being fronted. Even the law that he's creating is just targeted at certain regions. He doesn't punish. You've seen in the last but Project 2026, as you have seen in this presentation, is beyond these petty issues. It's about the delivery of our country to a prosperous country, top 5 economy, with a united, prosperous people.
So how do we have a lot of people have this kind of mindset from a holistic point of view, not getting lost into these details and petty squabbles that, they did this to me, they did that. Yes, that's the process of you becoming the leader, there's no need to be complaining about it. So
sometimes nations use peace mechanisms like peace and reconciliation, because sometimes it's difficult to bury the past. You might have to allow people to gather. They say how they've been hurt, how they've been disappointed, how they were destroyed, how their families were destroyed. It becomes a place of healing. There are various tools and mechanisms that can be used to heal the nation. Take away that one Zambia, one nation. There are practical means to bring a country to unity. Yeah. So that is a topic for another day. It's in one of my discussion points in Project 2026, because one of our biggest dividends is peace and security. We've never been to war. We've never had a civil conflict. We've been at peace. We have had peaceful change of government 3 times, 1991, 2011, and 2021. So there are issues we can build up, and therefore the emergence of regional tribal politics and ethnic talk is dangerous. We will dedicate, it's one of the subjects we have to discuss in how to become prosperous in the next 5 years.
Surely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
On the last note, so other people can call. Zambia is, we have been held in high esteem. You go to countries like Thailand. Immigration passport. I'm from Zambia. You go past. It happened to me. From Kenya. Kenya airport, yellow papers. This one office. And it seems now this will stop because our country is getting entanglements. I don't know. then China, I think there's a misunderstanding. The Chinese people vote, but they have those autonomous regions and provinces, and you have to be a member of the Chinese Communist Party. I am also a member of the Chinese Communist Party. So Nganaisa China, then could actually chat them with the government that there are offices that are designated, and those people work in those offices, they are voted by very ordinary people into those offices. Those are the people who go to the central committee able to vote, that they are casting for Xi Jinping. That's the for us freedom and democracy from words of these people who are scammers. They scam the whole nation, the whole continent of our mineral deposits. But these are scammers. These people, they have understood how their culture, their tradition, like we should do the same. Like capitalism, they have added these characteristics to capitalism that works for them.
Okay. Thank you, my dear brother. Baneni mbonama missed calls. There are already 26 missed calls. Let's allow others to speak. But Natasha Sana. Mkwai, thank you very much. Thank you. Please call. Sorry. Mr. Mabo calls from Italy. Sometimes I give him a lot of time. He's a dedicated caller and is passionate about, very passionate about 26 missed calls already. Please call. Let's have the discussion. Today we are discussing the procurement process, how $2.5 billion every day is in your national budget. We are discussing how that money will be locked to local enterprises and local businesses. And if it's anything that government is buying that is highly specialized, our local people can go into enterprises. And we're also discussing how we will dismantle that entire debt owed to local suppliers and contractors. It has been audited, it has been verified 3 times. It will just be checks issued, transfer of money paid to all the suppliers and contractors. And then we demonstrated how we raise money to fund Project 2026. We spent a lot of time on how we can raise money to run this, not on loans, on local resources, and we demonstrated. So please call. I'm sorry Mr. Mabo took time, but Mr. Mabo is a wonderful man, and he promotes love amongst ourselves. He wants us to be united, and he wants us to be dedicated to our country. So thank you very much. We had another caller who was talking about tribalism, and again, I know it's a very sensitive matter. We'll dedicate time of how we can develop our country without descending into tribal talk and tribal languages, and without fracturing the unity that our country has enjoyed since 1964. So please call, participate in this subject.
There is the tendency, particularly in Africa, that the mere occupation of public office makes you a leader. No. Leadership is a totally different thing. Leadership is about individuals who are capable of thinking about their societies and who are prepared to sacrifice for their societies without expectation of any return. I think the best description of who a leader was a description that I read in Carter G. Woodson's book, Miseducation of the Negro, that a leader is he or she who knows that he is not necessarily better than everybody else, but he has passion and commitment to provide direction in a manner that will help others and improve his circumstances and the circumstances of the society. A politician, on the other hand, is a parasitic individual, an individual who thinks he has the monopoly of knowledge and wisdom, and whose grand agenda is to manipulate processes for personal benefit by hoodwinking the people that he or she is working for them, but he is simply massaging his ego and feathering his nest.
But there's something that Singapore did differently. Singapore, as you are calling, Singapore focused on merit, focused on an efficient public service, focused, they were part of Malaysia. And Malaysia got independence, and 6 years later, Singapore got independence from Malaysia. It was one of the poorest countries, a patch of sand. They used their location properly. They are at the corner of international trade. When trade ships are coming from the east going to the west, they pass through the Macau Bay, where Singapore is. Singapore looked at its time. In America, it would be midnight. In China, it would be 03. There were time differences. Singapore was at the right time. They said there's an opportunity, we can create a financial center. While the East is awake and while the West is awake, we are the only ones who match their times. Both of them can do businesses. And that's why the financial center in the world is in Singapore. They leveraged on that. It was just a patch of sand. They promoted unity. It has a huge Chinese a population that, settlers with a Malay community, and unity was promoted. And, Lee Yuan Kwan, who was the first prime minister, was deliberate about development in Singapore. But one of the things they did create was an efficient public service, issuance of licenses, issuance of any regulatory mechanism. Government should not stand in the way of markets. Government should not be an organization that slows the process. So Singapore, up to now, if you want the most efficient public service, if you're running government, the best well-run government, the cleanest, no corruption, and that delivers on time, you have to go to Singapore and learn from Singapore. South Korea, like Japan, relied on foreign investment with a liberal economy, less regulation, and, promoting their own people and localizing the technology. Japan couldn't build cars, but within a period of 50 years, they're the largest leaders and manufacturers of vehicles. South Korea is leading in electronics and chips. China, we've already discussed it. Development, taisa ngameno ya mkanwa. Good evening, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening, Ambassador Mwamba.
Good evening.
This is Jackson calling from Lusaka, Zambia.
Yes, Jackson.
Yeah, actually, I even at this and almost I'm actually happy that you are up there educating us, especially on environmental issues, trying at all costs to be more fair and not more political. That I want to give you much kudos.
Thank you.
And then I'm like, you've been leaders, like the way you are one of the leaders that we are looking up to. I'm following, you've given a good explanation about how India managed to be a giant, how China managed to be a giant. Now I'm like, what is wrong with our leaders who are much exposed? Very exposed to an extent that I want to believe that they know what you are telling us. So why is it that we fail as a nation where, we could have done better? Is it because we are self-centered or maybe we don't learn where we go? You are exposed, Ambassador, you are in America. Where you are even giving us examples. Like America, on the other end, busy invading African countries, killing and doing whatsoever, whereas China is doing the opposite. Why don't we learn as Africans? So this challenge, I want to pose it to you as one of the leaders that we are looking up to. That please, can you have our nation at heart? That as you save, as you aspire to lead this great nation, which I want to believe that at some point, God given time, you could be one of these leaders. that God will, give the responsibility to take this our nation to wherever it's supposed to be. The challenge that we should have is, please, let's have Zambia at heart and not our own selfish gain. I think this is my contribution. And I want to say, please continue doing a good job. Let's not preach things that are negative like tribalism and the like, but our mind and our focus should be redeeming Zambia from what we are today. Because I want to believe that Zambia right now, we are at our lowest point. We are going 100 steps behind instead of forging ahead. Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you very much. I've seen a lot of comments, people in Zambia complaining about the network. Do not worry, you can watch it again. Sometimes at local level, they will attempt to interfere with the program to frustrate you, to frustrate what we are trying to communicate. Don't worry, you can watch it later. That they will not diminish our resolve to develop our country. They will not. Vachepa sana. So keep on focusing. Others can go to YouTube. We are live on YouTube. Although I've seen that my TikTok one has gone off. I don't know what it is. I'll check it. But my TikTok link is not working. We're live up to a certain period and we seem to have been inactive, but we are live on YouTube, on Facebook, and on various platforms. I'm calling back this number because they've called over 10 times and I feel bad. So they keep on missing the number. Okay, please call back. Please call back. I'm calling back those that missed. There's something we can admire about India. India have used SMEs as backbone for their economy. They've developed the largest democracy in the world. Up to 600 million people go to vote for their members at local level, members of parliament, and for the prime minister. For parties that then go to parliament and then elect a prime minister. So they've done very well. They were a poor country, one of the poorest countries. It used to be a wealthy country in the 17th, 18th century, but colonization brought it to its knees. And in the last 70 years, India is doing very well. It has posted growth. It has grown its economy from $600 million to $3.1 trillion. They were at a par with China. China did something totally different. China is GDP is 20 trillion, while India is, but India is democratic and India is multi-religious and India is multi-ethnic, Muslims, Hindus, and they've been struggling with issues of peace to that extent. China is almost unipolar, one varied position, and the central government, in the manner that it runs, hasn't had issues of peace and security other than Taiwan. But they've gone about it very well. They had Hong Kong issue. They waited. They respected the treaty that made Hong Kong under British rule until 1997. Macau was under Portugal, and currently Taiwan still remains in the pariah. Those are the three issues they've been struggling with. They've resolved the issues of Macau and the issues of Hong Kong and some issues that rise here and there. Essentially, they've been focused on developing their country, making their people prosperous. These issues fall away. Why we say wakwisa is because our resources are diminished. So people think that when I say I'm Tonga, therefore maybe I'll have an opportunity to get a job. Whether I say I'm Bemba, no. When you deliver prosperity, these issues diminish automatically. They go in the periphery. And that's what we have to do. Deliver a prosperous nation. Deliver a top economy to the world. I can see people are saying network in Zambia. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about the network in Zambia. But good news, you can watch it later. Hello, my brother. I'm told there's a network crisis. So those that were calling earlier, I'm calling them back. Maybe from my side, it's easier. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Ndifia wino ni mwebani?
Mwanda na Bachanda.
Bachanda, endita. Mwachila tuma, just for me to confirm.
Yena mbaka lisano kutuma shiva through.
Okay. You are live on my program.
Munse wano wa mwamba.
Yole sale tupala muntu wandi.
Ala mwamba pitirishe nkurandira kwechalo foto wali mitemwa sana. Nezo tulefu alisha sana pali ndakai. Ifintu fichinje wa mwamba. Ifinde miewa kuno kumwenso amara itesa veni 19 hours 21 hours nchina ya sharp.
Yeah.
So katusha fatuinga womba. Never tuinga chitata tuishive. So abantu nga mulirandira kwechalo aho ba prisoners balando kwa ifintu filishe bwino. Filishe bwino pamala yabo. Not kuno go for today kara for man tachueme. And then tulefasha na ne plan B. Eyo mwatura yokwe bantu shirenda shani. Tatuishi wene for tuinga chitala otherwise paningaranda. Tuafweni twadila. Tulemye batwadili mina mataba. Lo watakese tuafa ko padi lo mataba so black market baresa nitukwata 15 ngwe.
Yeah.
Ifinde mya vero mufundo to aresto adula sana kuno kuchinsari. But ngamwaloresha aho katuishi ko turi amandini. Katuishi. Tapari nefile chitika feta pari. Ndemya. So bwereni ba mwamba mtu wafu echaro echwa cha bandasha.
Okay.
Nimwe vitu ngalilira bo na totera sana kwa kuranda na imwe yonse ndafaisha sana ko ba mwamba awo sure. So muwe na pressing ko ata mataba ena abantu badeshita numantu kwacha 50 ngwe. Na kameda kama taba 15 mieva. Ni 8 kwacha, 9 kwacha, 10 kwacha nshikabaist.
Aho wanichabi papantu. Umulimi afolo mukumo fye mwaka. So ife file chika out afiwene.
Wati nomba bana tukawatwara shani ku school. Shati nga tuwabika kapieko kwetu wabika mungulimi. Watwara kwa bana ku school. Nomba twara shani abana ku school. Tapani nangu chimwe chechika ba mwamba. So bebe ni wa Edgar Rungu kwa bati babweze. Ivo tulifo kushwe file chitika. Babweze ba Edgar Rungu tushwe file chitika nga twarashita shani 2026. Pantapado ko tushintirire ngupiye fye ko tushintirire bonse. Ero nga para baranda TPND kapita mu 2026. Nishika tushwe fye batontonkana. Because opo mudinga muri 9 people once baranda kata out reach njo uteko. Nomba katushwe fye batontonkana. Natotera sana nene cyber crime aise kuti baza kutola mairo mulale we.
Natasha muntu wandi tukafichinja tulefichinja tetiwe katekole tinya abantu abapoko buntungwa abole sapela makabene bole tinya chirabushiko. We'll throw away those laws. We've said there'll be a legislative revolution where we'll ensure that we build roads. You have 91,000 kilometers of road, but only 20,000 are either paved or motorable. The 70,000 are inaccessible or their crossing points have not been done, their bridges have not been done, or they are literally not motorable. Up to 70,000 kilometers of road. Bushe nga wa mone chalo efyo chava. Would you even have time ukula pangama cyber laws wele. You would not have such time. You'll be asking yourself in cabinet. Vane, our country has 91,000 kilometers of road. Only 20,000 of kilometers of road is accessible. How do we ensure that the 70 kilometers of road comes on board, is motorable, is accessible, the crossing points, and can be used throughout the season? That is a discussion we must be having. How can we have our farmers, like this farmer is complaining. He's complaining that Kuchinsari, they are buying, they're literally being ripped off by these briefcase buyers of maize. It's very simple. You find that in those areas, a truck can't reach. There is no road. There's no proper crossing point. When you revolutionize access to the country, you take water, electricity, roads to any part of our country, you will see how our economy will just spur into growth, into immediate growth. It should not take it should be 4 to 6 to 8 hours to reach any part of our end of our country. You know why it takes almost 2 days from Lusaka to Kaputa? It's because some sections of the roads where you are supposed to take 10 minutes, you take 4 hours. Serenje, Mpika Road, Mpika Kasama Road, Mwaya Kasama Mporokoso Road is okay, but Mporokoso to Nsumbutu Kaputa Takwabo Musebo, how do our people then travel? So when you revolutionize these roads, you link your roads to the provinces, to the districts. And remember, we're a land-linked country. Our borders are 8. You should have a big border post, 6-lane paved area going to that road, to that border post for purposes of export. You cannot export to Angola if you can't reach Jimbe, if you can't pass from Zambezi, if you can't reach Congo. You cannot. How can you then export to Angola? When I was permanent secretary in Western Province, I took time to visit Mokiko province and the other province, and I was very, very, very shocked. When I went to Shangombo across, to the town across, I met the governor, and the governor was telling me that they have plans in their national development plans to bring a highway to Shangombo. Then there's a river in between. Is it Rivungu River in between? They are saying they are doing a channel, $40 million channel there, and that they are doing a rail line, and they hope that Zambia could then invest from Mulobezi, which is 200 kilometers, and bring their rail to Shangombo to link to their plans, their 5-year plans to develop that entire area, because there's a huge investment they are doing to open up Angola, because Angola is only developed from Luanda, the coastal center, and because of the war they had for 20 years, the entire country is locked in. The inland is not developed, so they have these ambitious plans. When I heard the plans, Nalisa Bipshaba Angola, I said, Governor, wait. You are not taking rail to Congo. They said, no, it's to Shangombo. I said, Congo is 300 kilometers away from Shangombo. So you are not taking the road to Congo. They said, no. We are bringing it to Shangombo here. So I said, the $40 million channel you want to build here over this Rivungu River, you're not bringing it to Congo. They said, no. Everything is coming here. Shangombo is our point. I felt sad. You know why I felt sad? Because we were spending millions of dollars taking infrastructure to Congo to connect to Angola. So we're doing the Mongo Kalabo Road, $350 million. You've seen the road. We're then doing a road from Kalabo to Skongo. We're taking power to Skongo. We're building a brand new school in Skongo. We're planning a big border post in Skongo. Angola, we're planning on Shangombo, 300 kilometers away. I was sad. I said, okay, countrywide, give me a picture. They said the next point we are planning is Jimbe, because we have now done the Benguela rail line, Lobito corridor. The Chinese have invested $10 billion. So where it enters DRC, we think you are just a few kilometers to Jimbe. Our next point is you, Zambia, bring your rail from Chingola to Solwezi, Solwezi Mwinilunga to Jimbe. We are bringing our rail line from Jimbe to Luena. From Luena to Jimbe, we connect. The Lobito corridor is complete. Here in Shangombo and here in Jimbe. We are digging tunnels that can never meet. Our entire investment plans in the next 3 years, 5 years, with Angola. Listen to our brother, Minister of Infrastructure, Charles Milupi. His plans are on Congo like my government was. Their plans, RB's plans, PF plans, and UPND plans are on Congo. While Angola is investing on Shangombo and Jimbe, why are we digging tunnels that can never meet? Yet we have these bilateral meetings with Angola every year. What thinking is that? Those are some of the matters we need to bridge. If you are not visionary, if you don't have experience, you would not know this. You keep on building. It's just an example I've given you. You keep on investing in tunnels that can never meet, access of roads that can never meet. You will keep on building white elephants. We have to be strategic. Oh, my dear brother has already corrected me. He says, Ambassador, thank you for that discussion on Shangombo. Yes, it's Kwandu River and Rivungo, the Rivungo town across Shangombo. Yes, so you know what I'm talking about. Thank you very much. I was just giving it as an example of how we are digging two tunnels that can never meet. My dear brother, good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening, Mr. Ambassador Mwamba. This is Taonga from Copper Belt.
Taonga, good evening. Glad to hear a woman call. My dear sister, please make your point.
I'm really happy I'm always looking forward to your programs because, like I said last time, they are giving us a lot of hope. I'm a small business owner. They're always telling us that, Zambians are lazy, we need to work hard. We are trying. We know that the salaries we get are not enough to sustain us and our family's needs. So we try to do something on the side to gain income. But the SMEs are being stifled. The taxes that are being inflicted on us, when we try to go formal, so that our businesses can be taken seriously so that we can apply for contracts here and there, the obligatory, the financial obligations that we have to deal with are just too high. And it is known world over that it's only the private sector that can drive economic development, not the government, the employing civil servants. That will not make money for the country. It's the private sector, the SMEs. They contribute, in some countries, as much as 70% of their GDP comes from the SMEs. Yeah. But here we have a full ministry right now, and yet the benefit is not being felt by the SMEs. When we cry about the taxes, the workers' compensation, NAPSA, all these obligations, they want us to be paying minimum wage, and yet we are still making losses. And now ZRA now says we should all pay turnover tax. We are already making losses, but on top of that loss, they want us to pay turnover tax. It's really disappointing. You just feel powerless at some point and say, what are we going to do? Because we try to do this, they are killing us. So what do they want? They want us to suffer, but the multinationals are being given tax breaks. I don't really know how our government can say they are driving development, they are trying to build SMEs, and yet this, on the contrary, they are doing this to us. How do we employ people and pay them above even the same minimum wage? How do we afford to pay that when we are living in losses? And we're, it's really frustrating. It's really, really frustrating. And when you talk about, the PF was on a very good trajectory infrastructure-wise, someone was saying, we cannot eat roads. But if I need to buy produce, or I'm a farmer, I need to take my produce to the market, how will I do this? I don't have roads. The terrible access that we have is what is making even our local goods expensive. But when the farmer goes to the market, someone else is controlling your price and telling you can't sell at this, you are supposed to do this. But look at our cost of imports. FISP is not everyone who's benefiting from that. We are buying fertilizer. In my area, I was buying as much as 1,600 kwacha for a bag of urea. I try to take my maize for sale. Someone wants to control the price, and then, the future is bleak for Zambia if we continue on this trajectory with this government. So please, Ambassador Mwamba and your fellow politicians in the opposition, stay together, stay united, because your goal should be to free the Zambian population from these people who don't care. Please do not allow anybody to interfere in the unity of the opposition. You need to field one candidate. People should put country above self and not focus on I have to be the president, I have to be the president. Just support one person, stay united, and do not let people who just want to look at their personal gain to infiltrate and disturb the vision. Otherwise, you have a very good vision for Zambia, gives us a lot of hope, and truly, if you just stay on that path, we will give you the support. We are here to support you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my dear sister. Sibo from the Copper Belt. We have a plan for businesses. Number one, the $2 to $3 billion that is in the national budget every year is locked to Zambian enterprises, locally owned enterprises. That's number one. If they need technical specs, they need technical support, they'll get it in joint ventures, but that $3 billion a year will be locked to you. Number two, there is a small enterprise development agency that will be created, especially to support SMEs. There will be a finance for small development agency also created to give you those short-term loans, because you walk to the bank, to ABSA, to FNB, to Zanaco, they'll tell you, do you have security? So you should have an agency that can support you looking at your business proposal and either underwrite or guarantee that loan that the bank wants to give you, or they themselves give it to you. There'll be not mechanisms like CEC, which are entities just for looting by cadres. These will be professional entities to support economic growth, to support SMEs, to help, like what has happened in the farming sector, where that smallholder farmer shoulders the burden of our country and grows our crops. We want SMEs to carry this vision. So there'll be a special support for you. And like we said, when you supply anything to government, within 14 days you are paid. Anything below $1 million, within 14 days. Whether government borrows money to pay you should never be your business. If it's something below $10 million, within 30 days. If it's something $20 million and below, 45 days. If it is something that is above a huge project, about $20 million, 60 days, your money is paid. Government is capable. We lock your salary, debt. It helps you to plan. It helps you to borrow. It helps you to structure your planning. So again, we will help you with for public service workers. Your salary debt will be known, locked in the way an election debt is. Wane, I missed you. Wachulufia wesu. Niminakutala la ku UK. I was saying, what is my regular caller and contributor? This man is a visionary carrier like me.
I'm telling you, this is a vision everybody has been looking for. This is but what you are saying is what is in my mind and what is in the mind of well-meaning Zambians, patriotic Zambians. Yeah. So, am I on the air?
Yes, you are. Alive? You are alive. You are alive, my brother.
Yeah. So, Mwamba, what you're doing? I'm just surprised that there are only few Zambians listening. You see hundreds of thousands of Zambians. Zambians needs to be listening to what is discussed. You know, they say it's ideas that build the world, that build societies. Not just ideas, new ideas, innovative ideas. And this is what we're discussing here. And Bamwamba, the topic you are talking about is very important, and very few presidents have taken this topic seriously. And one of them who did that was Kaunda. He tried, forming FIDO and all those. He really tried. Bamwamba, you're exposed. And our farmers Zambians, they need to listen carefully. I live abroad. I've lived in South Africa. I lived in South Africa for 10 years, up to 2006. I've been living in the UK. All the best economies in the world, they there are economies, including China, that have invested money in their people, the small businesses, what they call SMEs. If you go on the website of the UK, government, they will tell you that we spend so many billions on the SMEs because they are the backbone of our economy. The UK itself, 59% of the employed people in the UK are employed by SMEs. So now if we want big enterprises, Zambia, big companies don't employ so many people. It's small companies. Put them together, support them. Those are the companies that employ people. So our government does not talk about SMEs. So how are we going to develop? Because it's only Zambians who can develop Zambia. And it's only small Zambian businesses that are supported financially, technically, otherwise that can develop Zambia. China, they developed through SMEs. What did they do? They came up with a shared growth a vision, whereby we're going to develop the country, but it's not going to be developed by Bamwisa. It's going to be developed by us. What do we do? They improved higher education. They came up with what you were talking about the other day, TVET. They supported, just like in Zambia, under Kaunda, there was this thing on agriculture. There was so much research on agriculture. There was so much support by government. They had extensive officers. That's the same thing they need to do with small businesses. They need to be supported technically, and also education. Our education system is not good. We are trained to work for other people. Look at how many CEOs we've got Zambians in the banks, running banks. Give them a bank, they won't run it. The last Zambian bank collapsed a few years ago, isn't it, Mama?
Yeah.
Because Zambians are not trained to run businesses. Not only that, Ubuteko also needs to support Zambian small businesses. Because you remember, Mwamba, you said it takes 3 years for a small business to survive.
To break even.
Small businesses, yes. When they are created, within 2 years, if they are not supported properly by the government, they'll collapse.
Yeah.
So, and China, when they were developing China, the government was doing the big projects, but value adding was done by the locals. Things like polishing emeralds should have been done by Zambians. We don't have any emerald polishing company, and yet we are the largest producer of emeralds in the world. I rest my case, Mwamba. I can go on and on and on and on.
Thank you, Achiluf. We are grateful. Thank you, and thank you for your support. There's some interesting comments from my dear brother Ignatius Makai. I think when I just touched on Western Province, Barroseland, and the issues around Angola, it just brought him to the subject. He says we should have 3 border towns, Rivungo and Shangombo, Sikongo and Lumbala, and Jimbe, in Angola. And we should also have one border post that Namibia has at Oshikango. And he has agreed with me, the plans where we are digging tunnels that are not. So thank you, Ignatius Makai, and thank you for your contributions, and thank you for our country can be developed. Our country can be developed. Ayamangalo twakwata have to come to an end. Amangalo twakwata have to come to an end. Okay, so I think I will need to say my last remarks. I think I've got some urgent matters I'm dealing with. I think we have had enough discussions, and for all those calling, what can we do? Let's see. Did anyone send some messages? Makai, thank you for those comments. Thank you very much. Hello?
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 Hey, good evening, Karabesa.
Mwabombe ni mwebani. You are live on our program.
Yeah, Don.
Kwa iba Don atishan mnefo kulanda po.
Hey. Shani mwa Don Soko.
Iyo le sale tupala shani na imwe. You are live on the program. We are discussing SMEs. Kwa namkwatefia kulanda po.
Program wiri pa panshi.
Vane. Yo, wadonna imwe. Okay. I guess maybe this Mr. Don wanted to speak to me. Mr. Mabo from Italy is the current president of the Zambia Association in Italy. Thank you, Mr. Mabo, and thank you for your contribution. I value your contribution. The people in the diaspora, I love their comments because they're above the petty issues happening in our country. So they are not locked into praise singing. They are not locked into this. You saw our dear brother, George Mtonga, even leave the UPND. Sometimes when you have the reins of power, people forget why they were elected. In the first place, they were elected to deliver, not to engage in petty issues. So thank you, Mr. Mabo, for more information that you've given. Wachilufi has already given his views. Yeah. Someone has said, look, there's a UK company that promised to install 5,000 megawatts of power in Zambia, and it was only registered 6 months ago. Amangalo ayotrecha Zambia. Just because someone has walked into your office, you have technical staff. When I was a permanent secretary, I relied on my directors. They are very educated, well experienced. They've been to various ministries. They've been to workshops in London, in New York, in Beijing, in Johannesburg. And I never at any time felt that I knew everything. I relied on my directors and I would throw the documents to them. What does this mean? Mpulungu Haba, what's his plan? Or when I was in Western Province, what's his cashew issue? Let's go and tour. They give you proper detailed brief. And here we have jokers. That's why anyone can walk into your office and say they will deliver 5,000 megawatts. Do they know 5,000 megawatts? They don't even have an office where they're coming from. And you don't even do due diligence. And you issue a strong statement. But it's hollow and empty. When I was an ambassador at technocrats, your first secretary for political, well-versed first secretary for trade, an economist and a specialist in trade. When I was in Ethiopia, at technocrats that have been at the African Union for many years and are fully qualified. A president can appear smart if he relies on his infrastructure. Not manondi kwatile, where you think you are the only one that knows it. Your technocrats can do a better job. These jokes we are seeing, someone who has just formed a company and has a one-room office because they are coming from London, you want to believe them that they can deliver 5,000 megawatts of power. It has taken you 60 years to get to 3,000, and this one says you deliver 5,000. And when you do just a simple Google search, it reveals that the company has not even paid its first tax. It was just registered 6 weeks ago. Mangalo sana Zambia. We are playing as a country. Just jokes, Who else? Someone has sent me this law, the closed circuit television law. I talked about it when I talked about the cyber crimes. I said, pay attention to the other laws that have been enacted. The NGO bill that wants to literally outlaw civil society in Zambia. I talked about the closed circuit television bill that is intrusive, that takes away your rights and freedom to privacy in your own home and offices. I talked about this, and I'm glad that someone has sent it to me and is very alarmed, and he says, Ambassador, look at this. Okay. This one says, thank you for the program. Been trying to reach you, but I'm failing to go through. But kindly emphasize more on fertilizer. UPND is a lying party. They are not telling the truth about this fertilizer. Thank you very much. Move on to Akwalesa. Let's come to an end. We'll have another program. Remember, Project 2026 is a program not just for the elections of 2026, but a plan beyond, beyond 2026. A plan not for elections, but for generations. A plan that can propel our country to a top 5 economies in Africa. We are currently at a $27 billion project. We have to grow 10 times. We have to be a $200-300 billion economy, and it can be done just from our sectors. The issues of the current issues of debt, inflation can be overcome by the production mechanism that we are putting in place through these sectors. Visionary in nature, incorruptible in character, determined to deliver not just for our country but for the future generation. God bless you. God bless our country. Until next time, we will see you.
There is the tendency, particularly in Africa, that the mere occupation of public office makes you a leader. No. Leadership is a totally different thing. Leadership is about individuals who are capable of thinking about their societies and who are prepared to sacrifice for their societies without expectation of any return. I think the best description of who a leader was a description that I read in Carter G. Woodson's book, Miseducation of the Negro, that a leader is he or she who knows that he is not necessarily better than everybody else, but he has passion and commitment to provide direction in a manner that will help others and improve his circumstances and the circumstances of the society. A politician, on the other hand, is a parasitic individual, an individual who thinks he has the monopoly of knowledge and wisdom and whose grand agenda is to manipulate processes for personal benefit by hoodwinking the people that he or she is working for them, but he is simply massaging his ego and feathering his nest.
Back